So I made a video before WrestleMania saying that Triple H is starting to lose his grip. I didn't want that to be true. I wanted WrestleMania to prove me wrong, but we all know how that show turned out. The momentum this company had 6 months ago is almost completely gone. This isn't what Triple H promised us. When he took over, fans expected long-term storytelling and consistency, and a real shift away from the chaos of the latter years of Vince McMahon. And for a while, that's what we got. But now it's starting to feel like the wheels are coming off. The weeks after WrestleMania should be an exciting time of the year. This is when new champions get their first real chance and fresh storylines begin. WWE should be building on all that momentum from the biggest show of the year, but right now it just feels like the company is stuck in neutral and they're filling time. And now Backlash is here to confirm that WrestleMania wasn't just a blip, it's just the way things are being booked at the moment. We've got John Cena versus Randy Orton in 2025. I understand that there's history here and that on paper it's a big match with two legends, but let's be honest, this rivalry has been done to death, and throwing it back out there now with barely any build-up doesn't make it feel epic, it makes it feel lazy. Yes, of course, Cena's the heel and Orton's the face, which is a new dynamic, but they're just throwing this out there with 3 weeks build-up. And on top of that, nobody can really explain why Orton's getting this title shot in the first place. There's no story, he's just been slotted in there because it's convenient and the show's in his hometown. With a bit more build-up, they could have reheated this decades-long feud and made it interesting again, especially with Cena being the heel, but they've rushed it. And then we've got Gunther versus Pat McAfee. Now look, I like Pat. I know some people find him annoying, and yes, his commentary can be a bit much sometimes, but I think the guy's entertaining, and he's not a terrible wrestler either. But what the fuck is he doing wrestling Gunther here? Gunther lost the World Heavyweight Championship to Jay Uso at WrestleMania, so he needs to be built back up, and it needs to be done quickly. He needs to absolutely destroy Pat at Backlash, chop his chest in, powerbomb him through the mat, and leave him broken enough that he's off commentary for a couple of months. That's the kind of statements he needs to make here, and it'll make a lot of you guys happy who can't stand to listen to another second of Pat on commentary. And speaking of Gunther, how about that guy who beat him recently? Jay Uso won the Royal Rumble, main evented WrestleMania, and he walked out with the world title, and as of right now, he's not even on the Backlash card. There's been some interaction with Logan Paul, but we're days out from the show, and there's still no match announced. Maybe they'll throw it onto the card last minute, but I'm not holding my breath. Jay should be the face of the company right now. Whether you love him or hate him, they booked him to win the Rumble and the world title on the biggest show of the year, so they should be backing him all the way. Instead, they're sitting on him like he's a mid-carder. It's like they're stalling for time. You can smell WWE's lack of faith in his abilities. They see that crowd reaction he's getting, but they don't believe in him themselves. Then there's Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyria for the Women's IC title. Now on paper, this should be a big match. Becky's a superstar and Lyra's clearly talented. And there's a story here. Becky came back, they won the tag belts together, then she turned on her the next week. It's a classic setup. But that is also the problem. It all happened way too fast. The heel turn came out of nowhere, and instead of building tension, WWE rushed it like they had some kind of deadline to meet. I don't have an issue with Becky turning heel. She certainly needed the reset, but this isn't the story to do it with. It's rushed and it's shallow, just like so much of what WWE's doing at the moment right across the board. The Fatal 4-Way for the US title is probably the strongest match on the card, for big personalities, for different wrestling styles, and for once it actually feels like WWE's putting effort into the mid-card. This has the potential to be the match of the night, and I've got no complaints about Dominic Mysterio versus Penta either. I was genuinely happy to see Dom win the IC title at WrestleMania, and as long as he retains here, then this should be a solid match that keeps his momentum going. All of these matches have the potential to be good, even Pat versus Gunther, as long as Gunther kicks his teeth in, of course, but the match quality is rarely the problem. It's the booking, and it's also the format of the shows themselves. Under Vince, you'd get these pay-per-views that were packed with 8 or 9 matches, and it was sometimes too many, but it always felt alive. Something was always happening. Back in Vince's day, the shows might have had a couple of backstage segments here and there, and some of the matches were completely unnecessary, but you definitely got to see a bunch of wrestling most of the time. Now, we've swung too far the other way. 4 or 5 matches on a card, with long promotional spots in between, and dead air between the entrances. The shows feel flat and lifeless a lot of the time, like there's no urgency. I mean, you look at Backlash, with 5 matches on the card, those poor people in St. Louis paying for tickets in an era where WWE are charging a fortune for the privilege, and this is the card they're getting. I also want to mention The Rock. He was in the build-up to WrestleMania, and everyone expected him to be a part of the main event, but he wasn't there. We got no follow-up or explanation, apart from him saying in an interview that he felt like he didn't need to be there, and that he didn't want to overshadow the story between Cody and Cena, which sounds like bullshit, quite frankly. There's been a bit of disquiet behind the scenes, speculation that he and Triple H might not be creatively aligned, so to speak. Some reports have pointed to disagreements over the direction of WrestleMania and WWE in general, that The Rock and Triple H had different visions on what should be done on the road to WrestleMania, and they couldn't come to an agreement. Whether that's true or not, you've got to wonder whether there's some push and pull going on backstage, and how safe Triple H's job actually is. These days, rather than being the son-in-law of the boss, he's an employee of TKO. Look, Triple H has had a great run these last couple of years, no question. Creative's been tighter and the shows have had more structure, but these past few months, that momentum is slipping big time. Fans are starting to get bored, and if that boredom sets in, it's a much harder thing to win back. Just take a look at AEW and what's happened there, for example. Triple H can still turn it around, but if he doesn't fix the foundation soon, all that progress is going to vanish just as fast as it came, and TKO can be very brutal indeed if they stop making as much money as they're used to.